You heard the speech. But behind the glitter lies this stark truth. In Hillary Clinton's America, things get worse. Under her dishonest plan, taxes keep rising, terrorism spreads. Washington insiders remain in control. Americans losing their jobs, homes, and hope. In Donald Trump's America, people are put back to work. Our families are safe. The American dream achievable again. Change that makes America great again.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host and creator, Minister Annie Bell, the founder and executive director of Wealth Management Ministries Incorporated. We are providing talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas. Please enjoy the show. You're down, afraid to let it out, shackles, to change the hurt, to feel the pain. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm more than a victim. I rise, I win. The chains are broken.
Good evening, good evening. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for sharing your time and joining us, my friends. I am Minister Annie Bell, the host and creator of R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, which is an outreach of Wealth Management Ministries Incorporated. We are endeavoring to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as providing awareness, prevention, and resources to the community. Looks like right now we've got a lot of people calling in. I hope that we'll be able to get to some of the calls tonight and maybe even get you to ask some questions or share your thoughts with us. So thank you so much for joining in. Our topic tonight, I'm so excited, is on the front lines. On the front lines, I'm so very thankful to the men and women who devote their lives to helping survivors of child abuse and sex trafficking. They are our leaders in the front lines, rescuing the victims and helping them to transition back to some form of normalcy in their lives. Tonight, I am honored to have such a person on the show, Minister Shannon Stafford. She is the founder of Families of Victory and a CASA representative, and we're going to learn a lot about how she serves on the front lines in our community. So welcome to the R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, Minister Stafford.
Hi, thank you for having us on the show.
Oh, you're so very welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started because I just want to hear all about it. I want to get our listeners inspired and motivated. If there's someone who just don't know what they can do or how they can help, I'm hoping that our show tonight will bring some of that to the light for them. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell me, first of all, about Families of Victory. What do you do, and how were you inspired to even found such an organization?
Minister Annie, when I was a child, growing up, my parents' house was called the City of Refuge. They joked about it a lot because every time someone would need something, they'd say go to the Denson household, and or Mr. D or Miss Ma Dukes. That's what they call my mom in the neighborhood. So, we just, whatever they needed, they would find their way to our house. So we had an incident. I tell you, a teenager girl got pregnant, and my dad was the one to drive her to the hospital. Had a lady, she got beat up by her husband one day, 4th of July, and she come running over with her children, and just, my mom and dad took her to the hospital, and we kept the kids and fed her. And the little boy that he was hungry, we would feed him all the time. And I can even remember a 13-year-old girl that we went to school with. She had gotten raped by her uncle, I believe it was, and she came to our house, and we helped her out and helped her through that situation. And so as I got older and, entered the ministry, I thought about my life as a child, and, my motto in life is blessed to be a blessing. So everything that I have, everything that I've done in life, I believe I'm blessed to be a blessing to someone else. And I thought about coming up, and I wanted to create an organization that could also be a place like I grew up in. And, of course, we lived a victorious life, although we did not have, we had other issues as well. So we created the organization, and we wanted to help families to learn to live the victorious life in spite of the crisis that they may have been facing at the time that they came in contact with the Families of Victory Advocate. So we kind of leaned on my upbringing, and my advisory board, of course, my sisters and brothers, because they lived it with us, and then my senior advisors are my parents. So that's how it came about.
Wow. That's incredible. First of all, I wish I had a place like that when I was growing up, I know when I was going through my own abuse, I had nowhere to really turn to, and every avenue that I thought of was scary. So to know or to have had a place that like that in my neighborhood, if there was one for me, I know, gosh, I probably would have ran there too. So my heart is just warmed. I have warm fuzzies all over just hearing that story and knowing that you were there for someone. Bless that 13-year-old who was raped by her uncle, and she had somewhere to turn and to receive, some nurturing right afterwards, because Lord knows that is such a traumatic time. So tell me, what do y'all do at the Families of Victory?
In a nutshell, what we do is service the needs of the families that's in the community. So it really, it's kind of broad. So when they come knocking on the door, just like coming up, we never know what we're going to get. But, of course, we try our level best and service whatever need is knocking at the door or ringing on the phone or hitting us on the email or in the inbox on Facebook, but we do offer, professional counseling, grief counseling, with just a lot of support groups, marital counseling, supervised visitations. Court recommendations are a biggie for us because a lot of times these children end up in court, and whether it's divorce court, whether it's, the deprivation cases, or whether it's even, as minor as being evicted, because a lot of the issues began in our courtroom, in our courthouse is the first floor, which is evictions. We find out a lot that's going on in the home when children are being evicted from the house. Family educational classes, so we do a lot. And definitely we are mandate reporters. Got a big anti-bullying campaign, hashtag I'm me, Najada Williams. And I think we talked about that before. So, in all of this, I believe that, bullying is definitely, this anti-bullying program is definitely needed because across the board, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's sex trafficking, whether it's, being kicked out or divorced or even running for president, we face this thing called bullying.
Yeah, that's right. It's pervasive, isn't it? Wow.
Yes,
and we're actually going to try to do an episode on bullying, so I would love to have Najada on and talk about what he's doing, because he's a youth out here fighting for anti-bullying laws and helping the other children to understand. So I definitely want him to be on the program so we could talk more in-depthly about it, because a lot of the times the bully has some type of trauma that has not been resolved normally.
Exactly.
There's some cases where not too many kids are just born mean, but most of them there was an initiator, a root cause. So definitely want to talk about that. Now, does Family of Victory, FOV, collaborate with other community organizations?
We do, yes, we do. It really takes a village, and in this case, I tell you, it takes villages, and so that's a big thing. No man is an island by himself, so it's extremely important that we reach out to other entities and other organizations. And a few that I do want to mention tonight, and if anybody's listening, I miss you, please don't charge it to my heart, because I tell you, a lot of people support Families of Victory. But Wavy Entertainment, Todd 69 Williams, he is very instrumental in assisting any capacity that he can. There's no task too big or small, and he really stands tall in our lives. So, he brings the manpower to Families of Victory, So we really do appreciate all that he does, and Team Wavy. So they're just awesome over there, and you'll get to meet them as well soon. And Michelle Curry of Middle Georgia Life Coaching Network, that's a powerful sister that really brings a lot to the table as well. And Minister Wazir and Christine Goldsmith, they're great in our holistic department. Camille Smith and the Grace Mob crew, she do a lot of the street ministry and going out, being led. I call her the barefooted priestess. So, and she's always ringing my phone with something going on. And Faye Walker Alexander, she's the Peacekeeper, National Director of Healing of Afflictions. Awesome, mighty woman of God that really don't mind taking to the streets. And she lost her kids, all three of them, but God blessed her to raise her 3 granddaughters. So we do collaborate with a lot of people and a lot of organizations in the community.
And that's really important to discuss, because it truly does take a village. It takes villages, like you said. It takes all of us individually and as a group to get together. It's not about who is making the most money or getting the brightest shine, but what are we doing together? What are we doing to be able to help our children? And sometimes it means that we have to come together in order to accomplish it. And just like in the Word, it talks about, all of us, all the members of the body coming together so we can function and so we could be better. And we're going to talk about some of that tonight as well, because it truly... we can't just leave it up to CPS or leave it up to DFAS or these governmental agencies and just feel that it's adequate, because it's not. Children are dying. Children are suffering through horrific, torturous abuse. And many have been called in. Signs have been seen, and they've not been rescued. And it's a clarion call. We need to wake up as a community, as a nation, because what we're doing right now, the statistic is that there are, the conservative statistic is 850,000 annually children being abused. But that's because I believe there's not a lot of people who still talk about it or have been discovered. So 1 million is really the number of children who are being abused every year. So if you think about it, most of them, the majority, will not truly heal and recover. So therefore, they are growing up with dysfunction. So what they're going to do is raise families with dysfunction and be, sitting next to us on the bus and at work, and just is just ready to explode at any minute. So you just never know. So this violence, mass killings and stuff like that going on, I believe a lot stems from the unresolved and unhealed wounds of the past. So we're going to actually get into some of that. I have to, of course, take a quick station identification break, but we'll be right back to hear more from Minister Shannon and about the work she does on the front lines. Stay tuned, everybody. Hello, everybody. My name is Minister Annie Bell, and I am the host of R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, where we endeavor to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as being the vehicle by which we use to bring awareness and resources to the community to aid in the prevention of these abuses. R.E.I.G.N, which is a declarative acronym for the individual survivor. That means I identify myself as a survivor, no longer a victim. R, reclaim my life. E, excel at living. G, grow in Christ. And N, nurture myself and others. This declarative acronym has developed into a victorious lifestyle brand that empowers and aids in the healing journey of survivors of abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas. I have also written a book entitled, with the namesake, R.E.I.G.N, A Survivor's Guide to Thrive, which is now available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. Pick up your copy of my book today and join me every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. here on We Inspire Network Radio, where together, through God, we win. If we endure, we will reign with Christ.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
Yes. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for keeping your cheeks in the seats and staying with us. I appreciate you doing that. Again, this is R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show powered by We Inspire Network Radio. And I am your host, Minister Annie Bell. I want to bring to your attention down below, you'll see a slideshow if you have joined us online, a slideshow of all of those who are supporting us and some other information. So feel free to look through there. Also, if you could help us to stay on the air just by clicking some of the ads that are floating around the slideshow, and just by clicking, those vendors will make a donation to our network. So please help us. You don't have to purchase anything. Just clicking will do, and it won't cost you a thing. So click during, after, before the broadcast, and you could help us. Now, before we broke for our station identification, we were talking to Minister Shannon about the need for all of us to do something to help the agencies that have been created, but to ensure that we are rescuing as many children as possible and preventing child abuse and, of course, sex trafficking. But Minister Shannon, thank you again for joining us and being a voice in our community. I wanted to ask you, you are a CASA representative. Can you tell our listeners about that organization and what the organization does?
You know, Minister Annie, I found out that Frederick Douglass made a statement a while back, and it is true to this day. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And
you can say that one more time. That was good.
It's easier to build strong children than repair broken men. Yes. And that's a statement by Frederick Douglass. And in ministry, as we go out and service the public, because that's what we are, we're servants, you run into so many different situations in life, and different organizations. And, of course, we talked a little bit about Families of Victory. CASA is similar to Families of Victory. The difference is Families of Victory bring the spiritual piece that we cannot carry into the CASA program. I've dealt with CASA for almost 20 years now on different levels. I currently do not have a CASA case. And what CASA stands for is CASA, or Court-Appointed Special Advocates for the Children. Children have rights, and they have voices, and sometimes their voices are silenced, and it's up to us to be the voice of the child. And that's what CASA volunteers, CASA representatives, CASA guardian ad litems do. And Dr. Phil and his wife, they're the national spokespeople for the program, CASA. And right now the statistic is over 600,000 children experience the foster care system in our country just right now. And that's just the ones that are reported. We're not even talking about the ones that's not reported. So what happens is that a CASA volunteer is appointed by the judge to watch over and advocate for the abused and neglected children that's in the system. Now, we're not even talking about the ones that are not in the system, because there's some private cases that don't have CPS or Child Protective Services assigned to them. So you can still call for a CASA, but a lot of people don't know about the program. Volunteers are given a case, and then you're committed to staying on that case until the end of the case. So, and you're trained. You do not have to, have to have a college degree and all of that, but you are trained at least, I think it's a minimum of 30 hours of training course, and then you have continuing education so that you'll learn the signs and everything. And you do have to pass a background check, before you are assigned a case, and you have to be a minimum of, I think the legal age, you have 21 years old. And after you pass the background check and all of that, you must be also available to appear in court cases. And then you have to write reports and let the judge know exactly what you have seen. You get to talk to everybody. As a CASA volunteer or agent or guardian ad litem, what is your duty? You are the child's voice. So you have to conduct an independent investigation and talk to everybody that's involved with their child, from the parents, the social workers, the foster parents, the teachers, the therapists. Gather all the facts, because you're the one that's going to make that recommendation to the judge where that child should be placed, whether it's temporary or permanent. Because some temporary cases, the parents' rights are terminated permanently, and you have to be the one to speak for that child at that moment in that courtroom and let the judge know and be the voice of the child, where that child, and what's the best place for the child to go.
And you work in tandem with the lawyer for the child? If it's
the CASA's guardian ad litem, and the child has an attorney appointed also. And sometimes the CASA volunteer does not always agree with the child's attorney. So you go ahead and, you butt heads with a lot of different people, from DFACS. Butt heads a lot with the DFACS system. And sometimes you don't agree with the child's attorney. So, you have to really have your ducks in a row and go before the judge and be able to explain and show documentation on why that child should be placed, in the hands of the person that you recommended. And in our courtroom, for the majority of the times, our judge, the last thing you'll hear our judge say is, I need to hear from my CASA, because he's the one that appointed us. And he also has to see the child. So all judges don't do that, but in our courtroom, the judge does that.
And you're in Macon, correct? Macon, Georgia.
Yes, Macon, Bibb, Macon.
So just so that they know geographically which court you were speaking of. Now, as a CASA rep, then, what's the caseload like for you all?
Generally, I did not take more than 2 caseloads myself personally, because I do spend a lot of time getting to know the child and the situation. So I haven't experienced another CASA being having 3 caseloads, maybe 1 or maybe 2. But the senior CASAs, 2 definitely, but some of the other ones are maybe just 1.
Because it sounds like there is a lot that is entailed. I mean, having to interview everyone in that child's life. Some might be more than 2 or 3, so that's a lot. They're teachers, and so that's a lot to have to do. So I'm glad that you're not overloaded with a lot of caseloads. But then it makes me wonder, well, what happens to then the other cases of abuse? Who serves them if they don't have a CASA representative as their voice?
Right, and there's also shortages of CASAs, and not every case is assigned a CASA, but there are cases that are, just mandate CASAs, and then there are cases that some of the cases are open and shut, or should be, but when there's issues or things that are not seen, or a gray line, fogginess, then the judge will appoint a CASA, and he needs to know what's really going on, and it is a lot. It's, you spend hours and hours and hours getting to know not just teachers but counselors and talk to everybody that's involved with that child. Things are going on, and that child's in the system for a reason, and you have to get to the bottom of what's going on with that child.
Mhm. And so, when would a CASA representative not be, afforded a child? What is the criteria?
I'm not sure if there is a criteria that's set. In our courtroom, the judge has just assigned one, or sometimes even defects will ask for a CASA to be put on the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's a wonderful organization for the aid to help, DFAS and CPS, and I'm thinking that maybe that could be one of the organizations that could use more ramping up to help with that. And even prior to it getting to, the courts or whatever, if there's some type of intermediary to help, that might just, and we'll discuss more of that as we're going into the show. I do have to take another break for station identification, but if you could, Minister Shannon, start thinking about, what was one of your most, the worst case of child abuse or neglect that you had to help with, and what was the outcome, just to give us an idea. So, again, everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm just going to take a quick break for station identification, and we'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Minister Lloyd Bell Jr., CEO of We Inspire Network Radio.
God bless you, and I am Minister Annie Bell, the COO of We Inspire Network Radio. We had you, our listeners, in mind when we created We Inspire Network Radio, or as we like to call it, WIN Radio.
We incorporated your thoughts and opinions to ensure that our programming will embody true inspiration.
And we will continue to bring relevant and heartfelt shows that cater to the needs and wants of our growing listener base.
Please subscribe to our network so that you can stay connected.
Join us here every week,
where together, through God, we win.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
Welcome back. Good evening. Once again, thank you for staying tuned to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show. I'm Minister Annie Bell, the host, and I am so glad that you have joined us, and I'm so glad for those who stayed with us. We are one of the many outreaches of Wealth Management Ministries, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we endeavor to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor through teaching of financial literacy and Christian counseling. Now, next weekend, we will be hosting an awareness and prevention event in October for the observance of Domestic Violence Month. I will be one of the speakers along with Minister Lloyd Bell, Tony 69 Williams, the CEO of Wavy Entertainment Group. You heard his name earlier today. We will also have special musical guests who will perform his hit single, Man Child is his name. And so if you are in the Metro Atlanta area, please join us at the Oaks Golf Course on October 15th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And hear what we have to say about the possibilities of preventing the violence, domestic violence, and even violence against our children. Now, before we went on our break, we were talking with Minister Shannon about the work she does at CASA, and she was going to maybe share with us one of the worst cases of abuse that she's had to serve on or even have come to see. So, Minister Shannon, thank you again for sharing with us tonight. And if you could share with us a worst case that you've had to be involved with.
Minister Annie, we had there was one case that just really took a little longer because we just needed to really get to the bottom of what was happening to this baby. Mm-hmm. And we had a baby, and the baby was 2, and he could not speak to tell me what was going on. So you have to kind of look at the signs and visit different times of the day, different times, over into the night sometimes, and what we noticed is that this baby was okay for the most part during the day, but close around 7 or 8 o'clock, he would begin to get fidgety and begin to cry and high-pitched cries, and watch the baby get put in the baby bed and then taken out of the baby bed and laid in the mom's bed. And come to find out, one visit we went to, he was very uncomfortable, just crying, and they kept changing his diaper. So we called and had them take him to the hospital. And this baby's rectal area was torn so bad. He ended up, someone had molested him and had been molesting him. And we had him tested for STDs, of course. Not only did the baby have herpes, but the baby also had HIV.
Jesus.
So he ended up with a colostomy bag, and it took a while, but we ended up being able to place the baby, not with the mother, not with, of course, the father or the mother's boyfriend, but we ended up making the recommendation that the baby be placed with the paternal mother, who also had custody of one of his siblings. So that did 2 things. Got him in the ark of safety, healing, and was, much as he could be healed. And also kept him with his siblings.
Yes.
We also recommended that every person that came in contact with that mom get tested.
Yes.
And in doing that, we were able to find out who had transgressed this baby and who abused this child, who caused this child at such a young age to contract these diseases and to be molested so bad that he had to wear a colostomy bag for the rest of his life.
Oh, my God. The rest of his life?
The rest of his life, yes. The rest of his life. And I would say that's the worst case that I ever came in contact with.
Well, who was the perpetrator?
One of the mom's boyfriends.
And, I'm going to tell you, there's so many cases of mothers' boyfriends who violate the children. And I'm not saying that if you're a single mom, you have to stay single for the rest of your life or until the child is 18. But I am saying, and I'm hoping somebody hear me loud and clear, that you're going to have to be more cautious of who you invite into the lives of you and your child. There are men and other perpetrators, even women, because there are violators who are women, who are looking for single parents so that they have access to the children. Me, myself, yes. Me, myself, if I ever were to divorce my husband, the father of my kids, I will stay single because I tell you, I'm going to try to keep myself out of jail. You know what I mean? Because I will go off. I'm not even playing with anybody. I want people to know that I am one card short of a full deck when it comes to my kids.
It's crazy, I'm telling you.
And, oh my gosh, for that child, he basically was given a death sentence, right? To contract HIV. His life, I made I did a little meme a couple of weeks ago where I said abuse is a life sentence for the victim, but it's just a light sentence for the perpetrator because they can, some of them get the smallest amount of, trouble or jail time or whatever have you. And I think more need to be, it just should be a heavier weight and heavier burden. And I tell you, when I hear stories like that, my heart, it took everything I can not to begin to just cry for that little baby because 2 years old, I know he must have endured so much pain during that time. So
and the
how
mom,
hard
she
is
worked
it for you?
It was very difficult, but I lean on the Holy Spirit. God is so good. When you're called to a thing, you have to know that it's a calling. You have to know that this is what God will have you to do at this time in your life. This is your divine assignment. And I can't get caught up in myself. I'm blessed to be a blessing. I have to, you have to be able to put the child first. If I'm feeling this way, imagine how that baby was feeling. And the mom worked 2 jobs, and the boyfriend was the caretaker. The father, he came up with the herpes, but he didn't have AIDS. So, it's just like, it's just, you really can't think about how you feel and get caught up in your emotions. In situations like this, you really have to be led by the Spirit because something's wrong, and God will show you exactly. He won't fail you because he's not going to fail that child.
Amen. Whew, amen. I tell you, I'm so glad that you, like I said, are in the front lines and are helping our children, to have that voice, to be the voice for them. Now, what do you think can be done? What can we do to help CPS and DFACS with their situation? Because their failure rate is pretty high, to me. And I want to refer to one of the cases that I've heard, Zamir Perkins, and I actually posted it on the group, our R.E.I.G.N group. But they were called. CPS was called 5 times. That with them thinking that somebody thinking, whether it was the school or someone thinking that he was being abused, but he was never rescued. So his mother's boyfriend, she watched while he beat him to death and hung him up by his T-shirt until the boy took his last breath. What can we do? What can we do to help CPS and DFAS? What, you're giving us this answer from another point of view. So I'm thinking that, certainly some thoughts have gone through your mind of what if, maybe if they had just done this properly or, have more staff or whatever. So what are your thoughts on that?
That case is beyond pathetic to me. There is no excuse. The system did not fail that child. We failed that child. The community failed that child.
Wow.
The people surrounding that child failed him. People need to stop pointing a finger and lift a finger to make a difference.
Jesus, I like that.
The bottom line in that case, mom obviously had some type of mental issue to take the baby off the hook, lay the baby on the bed, the boy on the bed, read the Bible, and the boy is dead for hours.
Yes.
So, again, what is mom going through where she, first of all, not only subject her child to this, but also allow her child and herself to be subjected to this? And I tell the women all the time in the Women of Glory, every man you meet, not only does your vagina not need to meet him, but your child don't need to meet him either.
Amen. Amen.
It's not that much love in the world.
Yes. You got to keep it real. Exactly.
And it's people are dying. These children are dying. This boy is dead. He's gone. And 5 cases of reported child abuse, that is unacceptable for CPS. That's just not acceptable. I guarantee you he did not have a CASA. Never would it. So what I think needs to be done is they need to allow more volunteers to come in, give them incentives, because the funding is not there. They need to take funding from other places that, to me, that just really don't make any sense, and put it into the organizations that does make sense.
Yes.
And a lot of the larger organizations that are receiving these continual grants and all of this money, put it in some of these other grassroots organizations that do not have the funding, but they're doing the work.
That's right. That's right.
And assign a CASA. If they can, cases like that, it should have had a CASA. That little boy should have had a voice.
Yes.
And every time they call, Zamir Perkins should have had a voice. The bottom line, he should have had a voice. And they need to pay more. Forget the furloughs. We cannot afford to furlough these children. We can't. They're dying. Yes.
They're dying. And if they're not experiencing a physical death, their spirit is being killed.
Well, emotional abuse is sometimes even worse than
and mental.
Physical.
It's all of that, and so this is an epidemic of such horrendous proportions, and we need to really gather around. Now, so what I'm hearing you're saying is, one, we need to beef up the CASA and make it more widely available so that they can work hand in hand with not only the lawyer, the attorneys, but also for CPS. Individually, then what I'm also hearing
not for CPS, but with CPS, because CPS is dropping the ball, and as a CASA worker, a lot of times we go head to head with the CPS worker because they're not doing their job.
That's right. That's right. And I meant to say with, with, not for CPS, yes. And so individually, we can then as individuals, go and then volunteer for this organization so that they can go ahead and expand. And, and if it means that you're doing it without pay, I mean, come on, let's do it. Let's, go ahead and work your 9 to 5 and then come and help where you can. And I think that's great. That was great information. I love your passion for our children, and we need more people like you out there. We're going to take another quick break, and I'm going to see if I could take a caller in and see if there's any questions. But everyone, please, again, stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Sadly, today, most of us know at least one person that suffers from addiction or substance abuse. Addiction does not discriminate. No age, gender, race, or classes of people are immune to the horrors of addiction. This epidemic has ruined families, claimed lives, and left loved ones devastated. Over 100 people die from overdoses daily, and over 20 million Americans suffer from some form of addiction. For this reason, author Lloyd H. Bell Jr. has written the book Clean and Serene. The author is an addictions counselor and recovering addict of over 13 years. He knows and has first-hand experience of being caught in the grips of addiction. Clean and Serene provides experience, strength, and hope for the still suffering addict. It can also be used as a tool in recovery. Whether it is used in a group setting or individually, this book was written to assist in the recovery process and encourage. Integrating inspirational, encouraging, and challenging scriptures, the author has provided a resource that is sure to change lives. If you or someone you know is battling with addiction, this book is for you. If you are in recovery, this is a great resource to add to your toolbox. If you are a group leader or addictions counselor, this is an awesome book for group therapy. Clean and Serene. Scriptural Meditations for Recovery is available nationwide in both ebook and print. Get your copy or a copy for some you know today from Amazon or Barnes & Noble bookstore. For less than $10, you can potentially change the life of someone currently paying the high cost of living with an addiction.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
Again, everyone, welcome back to the R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show. I am Minister Annie Bell, the host. I want to issue a trigger warning for survivors. Sometimes hearing certain stories will trigger a flashback. I don't want you to suffer by yourself. We will have people on our Facebook community who are ready to pray with you. We also, on every Thursday night at 9:30, have intercessory prayer for those who want to either pray together or if you need prayer. So do not suffer in silence on your own. Inbox me, Annie Bell, on Facebook, or even connect with us on R.E.I.G.N, Stop Abuse and Fight Back. The number for the prayer line is 530-881-1212. Access code is 225-184-078. Again, we're on that number on Thursday nights at 9:30. But if you need to speak with someone tonight after the show, feel free to inbox me and we'll get you with a minister. Now, Minister Shannon is with us, and she is with Families of Victory. She is also a CASA representative. Thank you again, Minister Shannon, for staying on and being on here tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I am going to take a caller and see if they have a question or a comment. So caller 4620, did you have a question or a comment?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I hope all is well. I'm going to say Alexander. I'm the National Director with Healing of Affliction. You know, I was sitting here listening to Minister Shannon along with yourself. And, you know, the abuse of kids, the bullying, and the deaths that we're having of our young men, it's just all a similarity. It's just right in there together. And as Shannon stated, and I say all the time, we need to come together as a community because these problems that we're having are not the mayor's problem. It's not the city commissioner's problem. It's a society issue. And we as a people need to come together and work these things out with these people, help these people. You know, we are so caught up on another person's religion, another person's sexuality, another person's color. The bottom line is that we're so full of hate that we can't even stand for one cause, and that's to help these babies. And I pray that one day God allow that to happen. Not that He's not putting it in force now, because I know I'm a tool of His, and I thank God each and every day. But we need to come together as a society to put a stop to this, to work this thing out, because I know with everything in me that it can be done.
Amen. Amen. I hear you, and I agree 100%. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and also affirming and confirming what we're trying to do, not only on this radio show, but with Minister Shannon's organization and our organization. So thank you so very much. Please stay tuned. I'm actually going to take another caller. Caller number 5904. Caller 5904. Did you have something that you would like to share with us or a question?
Yes. How's everyone doing? I am Michelle Curry. Minister Shannon had mentioned my name earlier. I am in connection with the families of Victory. And, man, I tell you, so many issues was touched on tonight, just about, abuse that children experience, crisis that children experience, and just seeing how it's so important that there are people to be available to advocate for the kids, And the role that I even play is I am a Christian life coach with the Middle Georgia Counseling Life Coaching Network. And even as people come in and need assistance, one of the things that I help them do is to encourage and to advise them as they're going through different challenges and helping them work through that process. Just that the trauma that they may have been through. Because a lot of times when people experience abuse, they're told you don't have an outlet. Don't say anything, or the guilt or the shame keeps them back from saying anything. But they do need to have a voice, and they do need to get it out, because in that process will begin healing, restoration, and it will help them to move forward, And
That's right.
Just, being on this call tonight, it was an eye-opener on, just how sometimes those taboo subjects as a community we really don't like to deal with, but it's still going on. People that experience abuse in their families, people experience abuse all around, young and old, and they're suffering silently. But if they have someone that can take them by the hand, advocate for them, advise them, encourage them, the process of healing will begin.
Yes.
And so, I just say, kudos to you both. And I think if we all come together, some great things can happen. Lives will be changed. And I'm so glad that I got the chance to be on this call tonight.
And I appreciate you calling in and having such a profound thing to share with us, because that is, like you said, so very important. And so I thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to take one more call and before we continue with the interview, and that's caller 7206. Did you have a comment or a question? 7206? No? Okay. Well, again, we want to get back to our dialogue with Minister Shannon. One of the things that back in the day, in the psychological community, it was thought of that if a person who has gone through trauma, that if they had to talk about it again, it would re-traumatize them. And so for the longest time, they were telling them, hey, don't talk about it. Let's just move on. But you can't. You have to begin talking about it so that you can initiate that healing process. I talk about that in my book as well, R.E.I.G.N, a Survivor's Guide to Thrive, that we find a safe haven, somewhere safe that we can talk about our trauma so that we can get above it, rise above it. One of the worst things you can ever say to a child abuse victim or a sex trafficking victim or a victim of trauma is to get over it. That does not work. And so, well, we're kind of reaching to the end of the show, and I want to make sure, first of all, that if there's anyone who is interested in being a CASA rep or volunteer, can you share with us, Minister Shannon, of how they can get started? And I also want them to be able to contact you, or whether it is to get some help from Families of Victory, or even if they wanted to help connect arms with you and serve. So, one, how can they get in touch with CASA? And two, how can they get in touch with you to help the community?
Thank you so much, Minister Annie. And I just want to say right quick, if we could just also really get involved with our elected and appointed officials, because this country is governed by laws and ran by with money. So we really need to get in touch with them. I really salute the one, Senator Miriam Paris, and now she's Representative Paris, and our representatives there, James Beverly and Alan Peake, and Bubba. We call him Bubba. He is a CASA, and he's in the House of Representatives as well. He serves over the Dry Branch District down in Central Georgia. So really get involved, and also to be proactive in this situation and get educated. Spend your money where your treasure is. That's where your heart will be also. That's what the Word of God says. Case in point, we got 6ix9ine coming out with Wavy ENT next week and Team Wavy. So put your money out there. That money will be used to go and help those victims. And we know that they give back to these type of groups. Invite them out to your organization, to your colleges to speak. I know 6ix9ine did a lot of that. Minister Faye, she did a lot of that as well. So really put your money and your time, where you say that your heart really is. I know we're limited on time, so you can visit CASA's website at www.CASA4children.org and click on your zip code and then locate the CASA that's organization that's closest to you. You can also learn more about Families of Victory. Come and help us out over there. We need your help. We need your time. We need your prayers, and we definitely need funding. And you can go to www.familiesofvictory.com. That is how you can get in touch with us. Or you can call us at 404-263-1545 and reach the director, which would be me.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much for coming. You have dropped so many nuggets out here. I think you have shared your heart. You have shared your passion and what you do. So thank you so much for making the time to be on the show with us. And before everybody leaves, I wanted to share my wisdom to reign. When times get unsure, recall God's promises for your life. To make a donation or get in touch with me or my team, please go to www.wealthmngt.org or www.anniebellministries.com, Facebook and Twitter, R.E.I.G.N, Stop Abuse and Abolish Sex Trafficking. Go to our YouTube channel, and you can find all of our shows on there. Repeat after me. I reclaim my life. I excel at living. I illuminate the dark. I grow in Christ and nurture myself and others. Let's reign together with Christ. See you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Bless you. Good night.
Of